All right, here is our last one for this unit, 2015. Again, this is problem number one. So it would have been the first one that year. You opened up your test and you saw these two box plots. You saw these two box plots. So I would kind of expect them to compare. Yep, anytime we're seeing two of them, they're asking you to compare the distributions. Sometimes they'll ask you state what's similar and different between them. Comparing the distributions means I definitely want to say comparative language like greater than, less than, more than. Um, more varied than, all those kinds of things, bigger center, and be specific with your numbers. So I'm going to do my compare the distributions with my socks. And so here we go. So I said that, oh, and of course, using context. So I can see here they both had the same median. So the shape, outlier, center, and spread will go in those orders. So shape, um, it because corporation A has these upper outliers, it is more skewed to the right. You cannot say modes for the shape with box plots. You don't know how many modes they are. But corporation B is more symmetric. Corporation A has more skewed to the right because of this length of this spread here. It's a little bit more skewed right. So that's the shape. Outliers, of course, we would note that corporation A has outliers at, be specific, 72 and 78, something. See, be specific with your numbers. And these are thousands of dollars in salary. So again, context, corporation A, I'm talking about that. I'm talking about yearly salary in thousands. So 72,000, 78,000, those kinds of things. Okay, that was shape outlier. So a little bit more skewed. Da, da, da. Corporation A has more outliers than Corporation B, which doesn't appear to have any outliers at all because Corporation shows two upper outliers around. Oh, see, look, I should have said 70K and 78K. So I definitely need to have those salaries there. And B doesn't have any of those outliers. Okay, now the center. The medians of both of these seems to be about the same at 51,000. So see, look, I left that out. Huh, this is interesting. I thought that I had gone back and fixed all of these. I noticed that I had left off the um, some of the salary being in thousands, and I went back and fixed that, and I guess I didn't get this corrected here on this particular document. So here we go. So they both have medians, they have the similar centers, both about 51,000. Spread. So corporation A definitely has more varied salaries than corporation B. And so then I can say why that is because I can either talk about the range going, how much the range is from the high to the low salary, or I could talk about the interquartile range, which is not quite as different as the overall range. So I can talk about either one of those most likely. I will look at the grading guidelines and compare those, but I definitely want to do that. So here I said Corporation A is more varied. Not only does it have a larger range, which I stated, and I should have put the K's in there, compared to Corporation B. Corporation A also has a larger interquartile range. So I went ahead and I included both of those. And I am specific with how much it is. I just needed to put the K's in there because they're thousands of dollars, not just $10 or $7. Okay. All right. So let's look at that credit for those. So scoring. Essentially correct if the response includes four components this time, a correct comparison of center, of spread, a discussion about the outliers, and context. So it did not reference shape. Now, I do know that if you had used the modes like unimodal and so on and so forth, I think so. It says, oh, any mention of shape should be ignored because complete shape cannot be determined in a box plot. Sometimes they'll say if you talked about the unimodal, then you would actually lose credit because you cannot tell modes in a box plot. All right, so all four components to get an E. Now let's see what would have gotten you P. If you only got three out of those four pieces, then you would have gotten a P. And if you had at most two of them, you got 0 credit for that. All right, next it asks you, based on the information, if you were offered a job for $36,000 as an entry level accountant, based on those box plots, give one reason why you might choose to accept a job at Corporation A, and then also justify why you might choose to accept a job at Corporation B. Now, they wanted statistical language and justification, such as something like this. Um, you know, at Corporation A, maybe I have much better chance for improvement because they have these higher values of salary above Corporation B. So something along those lines. Um, you might say something like, why, let's see what I put. I would accept that at Corporation A because even though the medians are the same, Corporation A has a larger spread and so more salaries above $60,000 than Corporation B. And then here's a possibility of how to accept Corporation B because 36,000 would be a lower outlier. So see, if you started here, then I would expect to jump up to above 40,000 fairly quickly because that's unusual at their company. So it's more B is more consistent and less varied in its salaries. So see, I put that that would might be salary security. Okay, so I would expect that jump to be fairly quickly. Let's see how they justified theirs. They said something like, same thing. Uh, it looks like some people in Corporation A could still be making 36,000, so and never seeing a raise in 5 years. So I might want to then at Corporation uh, be at Corporation B because I want to make sure I get a raise within the first 5 years, those kinds of things. So here is your way that you get credit. Essentially correct if you give a relevant statistical measure or a relevant statistical comparison. So this is something like outliers, percentages of people within that salary range, something mathematical about that box plot shape, the size of the spread of it, the variability of the salaries, more at a higher level, that kind of statistical measure identification, and that it's providing why that comparison is relevant with the salaries. And then the same thing for part two, a relevant statistical measure. So something about like how there was 36,000 would have been a lower outlier. So that's a statistical identification of what that box plot is saying about those salaries. How I said how it was more consistent, that kind of thing, and why that is relevant and advantageous for your salary. All right. Note, if you do not provide a statistical measure of comparison, then the second or fourth component could still be satisfied if you do things such as, for example, if you only stated at Corporation A, I have the potential to earn a higher salary, that indicates you know that those upper outliers are indicating a higher salary, so they would let you have that second component even though you did not receive credit for a relevant statistical measure about the outliers. Okay, so you had to say something about the specific idea, mathematical component in the box plots to get full credit. So if both parts were in E, you got 4 points. EP, you got 3 points. EI or PP was 2, and PI. All right, so that is how you get your credit for your 2015 problem number 1.